Hi, good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Samir so much for the lovely words and the kind introduction that you gave about us. We've learned a lot from you on the past 5, 6 years. So Purav and I, we don't come from the banking industry. We are pure tech people. So for us, this was, I would say a steep learning curve. Over the past 6, 7 years, we've learned how this world operates. And now I would say, I'd still say that I'm not 100% confident, but I'm still, I think 70, 80% there that, okay, now I understand this world and I belong to this world. So, and Samir and his team has, they were there since our inception days. So it's, thank you for all the learnings and the education that you've given us over the past few years. All right. So this is a demo session, and as you can see the title, I think you've been hearing a lot about Agentic AI in the past 1 year. I think we're not wrong in saying that the era of Agentic AI is officially here. From coding to legal to healthcare, we are seeing Agentic AI, delivering outstanding results across multiple use cases, enabling teams to work better, faster, be more accurate, be more thorough, scale faster. So, we thought that, how does Agentic AI look for credit decisioning, right? And as Glib, just to give you a little bit of introduction about ourselves, we primarily work with banks, NBFCs, fintechs, rating agencies, and usually we work with them on problem statements around credit assessment, risk assessment. That when I get a borrower's application, how do I analyze this borrower to the best extent possible so that I can give the most accurate decision, right? And here we've been utilizing a lot of ML, AI over the past few years and kind of helping them automate a lot of these operations. So we thought that, okay, how does credit decisioning look in the era of Agentic AI, right? So we've all used all these different AI point solutions at different times, but how does it look with Agentic AI? And that's the, the focus of this talk and the demo. So looking at a bird's eye view, like slightly at a macro level, 3 or 4 things are happening in India right now, right? One is post the demonetization and the UPI revolution, expectations from the consumer side have changed. So I'm not even talking about individual retail consumers, but even business consumers, right? Gone are the days where you can expect that you're going to get a loan decision in 5 days. Everybody wants it. If it's a business case, then everybody wants it in 2 days. If it's a personal lending journey, then everybody wants it in 1 minute, right? So we are at that stage where the expectations are sky high. The second thing is, along with this, like to support this, what has happened is that India's data stack has, become very mature, become very scalable. So if you're talking about KYC, if you're talking about account aggregator, the adoption rates are increasing day by day. Right? Along with that, GST is coming. Pretty soon, we're going to see other stacks also come in over here. Right? And the third thing is obviously the regulator here. So RBI has been, constantly on the front foot when it comes to innovating. So they want these credit agencies or these banks to kind of deliver innovation, grow rapidly, but then it has to come responsibly, right? So these 3 things are kind of converging towards one, point where we have to lend faster, we want to scale faster, but how are we going to do it responsibly and how are we going to innovate? And that's where I think AI is going to play a very pivotal role in kind of transforming this entire journey. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've had so far and why it doesn't work and why do we need AI, right? Why do we need Agentic AI explicitly? So if we talk about AI and ML, it's mostly rule-driven. Let's say you have your BREs, you have like specific rules that you've encoded over there. Now in a world that changes fast, when market conditions are changing fast, it becomes very difficult for you to change those rules on a daily basis. You're kind of stuck in that thing. Like every time you need to update something, you need to manually reconfigure a lot of things. Even scorecards that we build, the ML scorecards that kind of give us decisions, give us scores, they're all trained on data which are snapshots of a point in time, right? Now your data itself is regularly evolving, it's dynamically changing every day, and it's very difficult to change these ML models on a day-to-day basis. The third thing is that in the end, you're still stitching all these solutions together. Like if you had to evaluate a borrower, you have to do a KYC pull, you have to do a bureau pull, you have to do a bank statement analysis. Probably after that, you figure out that, oh, here's an edge case that I didn't know that their employer is in this industry and this industry is actually doing bad. So that becomes a judgment call by the analyst who has to kind of, at that moment take that decision that, oh, should I go and look up some more information about this borrower or this borrower's potential employer, right? So all of this orchestration right now is very hard-coded that, okay, this is how we're going to go from step A to B to C to D and final dispersal, right? So that kind of constrains how we evaluate a borrower or give out a loan, right? And most importantly, if you talk about all these AI and ML models, it's basically input in and output, right? So it's input and decision. There's no explainability layer in between telling us that, okay, why the ML model gave a decision. It probably gives a confidence score that, okay, I'm 80% confident, but there's no reasoning behind that. Okay, what's the 80% for? What's the 20% for? Right? So we don't have this explainability in the traditional AI and ML models. So what changes with Agentic AI? So when we say Agentic AI, I think we should take a couple of minutes to define what is Agentic AI, right? Because it's very easy to get caught up in the confusion that, okay, what's AI? What's Agentic AI? So when we talk about Agentic AI, we're talking about an AI that autonomously plans and reasons its way towards making a decision, right? So think of a loan journey. It's taking documents and data from the consumer or the retail borrower. It's deciding at that time that, okay, this is a loan application for a personal loan, then I should be looking at these documents, I should be extracting this data from these documents, I should be comparing this data with the loan policy or my credit policies or my, let's say, internal guidelines, and then finally giving a detailed explanation that, okay, these are the reasons why I decide to give the loan or these are the reasons why I decide not to give the loan, right? So we are talking about this entire sequence of planning and reasoning done by an AI agent. And in between, it also has to have the intelligence or the capability to understand that the confidence is low behind a certain decision. So when to engage a human analyst or a human credit manager, and when to kind of put this in an STP bucket so that it gets automatically approved or rejected. Right? So that's what we think when we talk about Agentic AI. In other words, if you had to define it, you can think of traditional ML as a calculator. So this is something we kind of came up with, that your traditional ML is like a calculator and your Agentic AI is like an underwriter who thinks and plans and reasons. So I've kind of tried to take an example of how, let's try and paint a picture that you're looking at a personal loan journey. How does Agentic AI look for a personal loan journey, right? So we start with a borrower applying, right? Probably giving all their data, giving their consented AA data, KYC, bureau pulls, and so on, right? So you have a data agent which is kind of looking across all these data sources. It is pulling that data maybe from your internal LOSs, maybe from your external APIs. If it encounters a document, it is using its inbuilt document AI capabilities to read these documents, extract data from that. So think of home loans or think of business loans where it needs to read through financial statements, property papers. These property papers are probably not in English. So it needs to understand all these different have these multilingual capabilities and extract data from all those documents. Right? So your data agent is kind of responsible for pulling all your data from disparate sources, putting it in one location in a structured manner. Right? Then comes the next agent, which is kind of doing the, I would say, the risk analysis or the credit analysis, right? So it does all the salary income calculations, the expense pattern analysis. It tries to calculate the FOIR ratios or whatever XYZ ratios you might have. It should also have the ability to connect with external, let's say, ML models that you've built internally in your organizations, pull data from there or pull decisions from there, and also bring that into the context window. Right? And the third important part is obviously fraud, right? So you want to make sure that the borrower that you're, planning to give out a loan to is not a fraud, profile, right? So there it has to have the capability to compare images, compare faces, compare against external databases like sanction lists or, politically exposed people. So it has to have the ability to kind of look up information dynamically, maybe on social media, maybe on the web, bring that data intelligently in, whether it is relevant to the loan application that I'm currently evaluating. Then the fourth step comes like a compliance agent, right? So the job of the compliance agent is to basically kind of checklist that however the loan is being processed, whether all the fair practices have been followed or the internal bank's policies are being followed or maybe the policies set by the regulator have been followed. Right? And last is, you would call it the decision agent, which now has this access to this entire history of the fraud, the risk, the compliance, the data, and it's looking at all of this data together, comparing it against what The original application was for what the internal bank's guidelines are and using all of this to finally decide whether to give a loan or not. Right? So we're entering a stage where earlier it used to be that AI would kind of give the predictions and the ultimate decision would then be taken by your credit officers. Now we are at a stage where AI is going to make the first decision, it's going to give the reasoning to you, it's going to give the explanations to you. Now you can choose to decide whether you want to follow the, the explanation given by the AI, or you want to override that and, kind of make your own decision. But at least you're getting all the picture in front of you in one window. So this is what we are trying to build at Glib. The 4 pillars to our platform that we are currently building, and I'm planning to show that to you in a few minutes. One pillar is the India stack integration. So we are going to be tightly integrated with account aggregator, KYC, DigiLocker, so on, right? So taking advantage of India's data stack. The second is document AI. So no lending journey is incomplete without physical paperwork. However much we say that, we are fully digitized, there's still a lot of physical paperwork involved. There's a lot of documents involved in a lending journey. And we are still to be, not done automating that. Probably bank statements are automated, your KYCs are automated, but you get all these different kinds of documents, right? So document AI is one of those pillars that our platform is built on. The third thing is, keeping in mind that our banks and our clients are, heavily regulated. The platforms that we are building are also RBI compliant by design. So whenever an agent makes a decision, there's a full audit trail, there's a full explanation and reasoning also given along with that. And the last thing is the ability to integrate or interact with external systems, be it your LOSs, be it your CRMs, your LMS, rule engines, and so on. Yeah, so I think if we can load up the window. Unfortunately, I wanted to show a live demo, but because the internet is a little slow, I have to go to a video. Otherwise, it would have been more fun to see a live video, though. Yeah. So I'll just let the video run, and I'll just kind of highlight what we're doing here. So I'm just going to open up one application that we've kind of, run through our system over here. Right now, this is where what the credit manager or the loan officer is going to see in the first pass, right? So all that's happened behind the scenes so far is that the borrower's documents have come in, all the data points have been extracted, and a summary or a decision kind of has been generated for the analyst or for the manager to see on the first shot over here, right? So not only does the AI kind of give a decision that, okay, I see that this is a low-risk applicant, it also does all these validations that, okay, I want to compare the salary of the in the bank statement, whether it matches what's there on the pay slip, whether the account numbers match or not. So it's giving this detailed summary. Now, obviously, along with this, you want to, not lose control, right? You still want to give control to your officers, right? So that's where we have the entire review section where you can go back and see where each data point is coming from. So it's not just, an AI just simply telling you that, okay, here is the decision. You can always go back and connect it to the actual data source. So you can always be sure that you're not hallucinating over here. And I think this is the part, yeah. So this is the executions, like how is the agent kind of thinking through what it needs to do. It's doing an OCR, it's doing classification of the documents, and so on. We're going to take another case where it's kind of a, an application where there is something wrong going on, so where the names don't match. So in this case, again, the AI is, the agent is looking through the documents, comparing the names against each other and saying that, okay, the bank statement and the payslip provided don't match each other. So it seems like, okay, this is a fraud application, so you should probably not lend to this person. So that's, I think, what we are trying to show over here. And again, just like earlier, you can go back to the source document. And this is a very critical feature, right? When we talk about Agentic AI, it is very important to give the managers and the officers the power to go back and change something or go back and see where the data is coming from and what's going on behind the scenes. And this is the part where we kind of design the workflow. So you might have multiple products in your organization, one for personal loan, one for business loans. So you can always come back to the studio and decide, kind of give a structure to the agent. So while the agent is autonomously reasoning and planning, you can always give it a constraint structure that, okay, in this application, I'm going to expect these kind of documents. These are the kind of validations I want you to do on the data. And all of this is given in natural language. So you're not kind of, having a system where you're kind of constantly you have to go and change these data points always. It's always explained in natural language. So you could just load up your bank's policy over here as a PDF, and we would reason through that and kind of use those validations to determine the application. Yeah, so I think we're done with the demo. So if anybody has any questions, happy to take them. Yeah.
A nice concept and very well executed from what I saw. Now, one thing I wanted to check is within the Agentic AI workflow, it was one seamless positive flow from start to end. But I mean, apparently the agents think by themselves. So is there any example you have of agent branching out, from the normal workflow to do a certain activity, go back in the loop, come back? Yeah, I mean, something which is not a regular, something which is irregular.
So you're talking about an edge case, I think. Yeah. So currently in the video that I have, I don't have that, but I'm happy to show that to you post this if that's okay.
Sure. And will it be okay, or I mean, in the forum or otherwise, for you to help us with what kind of LLMs are you using?
So these LLMs, I think, are the Gemma series of LLMs.
Okay.
Somewhere around a 15 to 20 billion parameter model over here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you've not tried out hairnet SLMs so far, or is it in the works?
So it's interesting that you talked about that. So we have SLMs. So again, this is a multi-agent framework in the end, right? So there is one master agent, or I would call it a supervisor agent, which does all the planning and the reasoning. Right now, in between that, when it encounters, let's say, a bank statement or a simple payslip or a KYC, which it needs to analyze. So we have dedicated SLMs or agents for those kinds of analysis. Right? So it's kind of a multi-agent framework. So I would not use, a heavy, powerful model just to do a simple validation for a name match, or let's say just to do a simple bank statement extraction. So in that sense, it's a combination of both the big language models and the small language models.
And it is purely SaaS, or is it on-premise also, the option?
No, so it's SaaS plus on-premise. So if you want to deploy it in your premise, that's also a possibility.
Thanks, Mohit.
Yeah.
And we're just running short on time, but
sure.
Yeah. Okay.
We're done? No more questions?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Mohit.
Thank you so much, sir.
You guys have
Thanks a lot for being the part of day one. With this, ladies and gentlemen, let's move ahead.